Email newsletter. You're going to start with a basic strategy. And number one would be coming up with the right name, what this thing is called. So people know what it is they're seeing and why they're seeing it, but more importantly, so you know what it is you're producing. Number two, the audience, make sure you know precisely who it goes to. If you send an email newsletter out to a random bunch of people, most people aren't going to read it. So make sure that you're using a qualified and highly tuned list of people that this is going to ensure that it's going to be read. So for example, if I'm going to be creating a newsletter for, basket weaving people, I want to find out who's interested in crafts and basket weaving to make sure that that's where this thing goes to, so that they open it up and they engage, because that's what we ultimately want, is customer engagement or audience engagement, so that they really click this. And even though that's not on the list here, what I would call classifying it as why you're creating the email newsletter, that's actually really important to know why you're creating it. So if you're running a business or you have a special event that you want to market, that's a good why you want to do this. I'm going to show some examples shortly to explain that, but just keep that in mind. Your audience is super, super, super important. So let's not forget the audience. The content, make sure the content is simple, fun, and engaging. There's nothing worse than a big, long, boring email. So make sure that it's very, very engaging. Make people want to see it. Make people want to find it really interesting, so they want to engage in it. The design, make sure it's attractive. Make sure it's modern. Find examples you like. Again, I'm going to show you some samples shortly, but make sure that it's really, really attractive, colorful, and engaging. Calls to action, number 5. Make sure that they're calls to action you can't resist. So if it's a new product, you want to make sure that people are going to really follow up on it, and make a button, make it something that you would see that you just can't resist clicking on. And number 6 would be choosing the right platform. There are a lot of platforms you can use with email marketing and email newsletters today. Constant Contact, Squarespace, Wix, Weebly. There's so many. There's probably over a dozen that I know of that are used regularly. I particularly like using Squarespace's platform. It's pretty easy to use, but Constant Contact would be a close second because they have a pretty easy platform as well. But make sure you know the right platform for you, depending on the team you're working with. The second part of that would be, after the basic strategy, would be the process. Make sure you have a good process in line. And that would first, number 1 in the process would be basic strategy. Again, covering these 6 principles here. Number 2 would be content rough draft on a Word document. This is really important. Make sure that you set up a Word document with your content and literally pretend you're creating this document, this email newsletter, on a Word document. Rough it out so you can see what it is that you have in front of you. You can see the images you're going to use. You can see the text you're going to use. You can have the buttons there, rough buttons, but literally put all of the content you want to have on it. It'll help you visualize it better. So A, text that will appear on the newsletter. B, links, make sure they're active. So if you're going to have a link on your newsletter, this is a good time to practice and make sure that it works. If you have a link to your website or a special product page, let's make sure that that link works correctly. And this is where you want to do that. Graphics, placement, and what they will be. What that means is that this is a good time in the rough draft on the Word document or the Google Doc that you can see the graphic that you want to use. What picture do you want to use? This is a good time to place that in and rough that out. And make sure that you have good artwork. I capitalize that because it's really important to have good quality artwork. So make sure your artists are providing good artwork, or find somebody that can create good artwork, because that's going to have a big impact. And again, I'll show you on some of these samples. Editors and reviewers finalize. That's step 4. So you're putting the content together. Step 4 would be where you have the editors and reviewers look at this. And my advice would be to keep it short. In fact, if you can have 1 editor, that would be ideal. But if you have 2 or 3 at the most, as they say, too many cooks in the kitchen, can really create a bottleneck and really slow things up. So find a good editor you trust that's not going to drive everybody crazy, and just so it's professional, it's clean, it's written well, and you're keeping the audience in mind. You want to make it really fun and marketing driven and advertising driven so that it really gets the objective done on what you're trying to do with your strategy. The next step would be the final content on Word document then goes to the designer, because now the designer says, oh, okay, this is what the content looks like, and this is what I'm going to use to lay out this document, the final email or the newsletter. So that's when you pass it on to the designer after the editors and everybody else has reviewed it. And next, after the designer, number 6 would be assembling it on the platform of choice. And then after it's assembled on that platform, so again, I use Squarespace often, I'll assemble that and send out a test. So the test goes to key people. I should add that on number 7. Send test to key people that are reviewers. Don't send it to everybody on the team, because it's going to drive you crazy. You're going to get all kinds of feedback. The feedback should happen early on in the process. Steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's where the artists, the editors, and anybody who has something to say about it will poke in and say something. So your final test will go to key people that can just give it a once over and just make sure that it looks okay. Because after you send the test, then you send the email. Again, you send the email to the precise audience list. And that's really, really important. Make sure you send it to the right list, because you're going to get a much greater readership. And then finally, after that, everyone forgets about this part, but after you send your email, make sure to measure the analytics. You want to make sure you see people that drop out, people that don't want to be subscribing anymore. You want to see the open rate, how many people open it, when they open it, why they open it, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. But that's important, the analytics part of it. So let me close this down. Again, the keys to good email newsletters. Okay, basic strategy, process. Okay, I'm going to close that. I'm going to show some samples and examples now. These in particular. So this one here is by one of my favorites, Pema Chodron. She writes a lot of books or whatever. And this is more or less just, like a weekly thing that you get and gives you some kind of tips on living a healthier lifestyle or whatever. It's just a key tip and a couple of key links. Read more. You can literally buy the book online. This, I think, works really well. So I like that one. This one here by GoPro. This is a good example of showing how really good artwork. You can see how the artist outlined the new GoPro Black 10 and see how it overlays the text. This is a really good example of good artwork. And it breaks it down in a nice table and shows the different versions, the Hero 10, Hero 6, and 4. It's comparing them. And then it makes it very easy. Remember, call to action. Save big on Hero 10 Black with 1-year GoPro subscription. Shop now. Simple. Makes it really, really simple. Social media sharing, that's all kind of standard. But the artwork is really nice. I like that one. The next one, this example here is DSW Shoe. Again, this came to me because I shop for shoes and I get discounts or whatever, and I think it's practical. They knew who they were sending it to. And it's the same with the GoPro too, because I use GoPro and I signed up and registered. It's perfect. They know that I'm going to read it, so it's good. It's a qualified lead, as I call it. DSW, again, good, great artwork, professional photography, interesting. They personalized it, which makes me feel like it came directly to me. They have other examples here of other shoes that I might be interested in based on my prior purchases. So that's interesting. But, this is a little long, I think. I think it's a little bit long, but it's interesting. It's clean, it's organized, it's modern, it's professional. So I like that one. That's another good example of a good, modern, clean design. So I'll slide that over. Next, we have carparts.com. I've ordered things from them. Again, look at how clean and clear and professional that looks. Okay? And look at the call to action. 70% off MSRP. Shop now. I mean, who wouldn't want to shop that now, right? Look at that. $30 off everything. Refer now when you do a referral. And top categories, shop now, looking through parts. They're showing me all the parts that I've bought in the past, which is really cool because it makes it easy for me to want to click and buy these things. This is, again, kind of on the long side, and I don't think most people will scroll through this long of an email. But it is clean, simple, simple, simple. You'll notice there's not a lot of text to read, making it real easy for people to click along to. So we'll move that aside. Finally, I have Headspace. Headspace. Actually, no. These are actual samples that I took here. This one I really like. This is Headspace. And see how colorful and professional that is on the top of the email. They personalize it with my name. And then there's some text here, which I think is a little on the long side, but it's not too bad. Attractive graphic, simple text, read the article. And then I'll go into some other stuff with health, learn more, make it easy call to action, member stories. See that? Real simple, 1, 2, 3. I think they make it real easy for you to see the content on Headspace. The next example would be Kripalu. Kripalu, same thing. Just a fun, professional photograph, making it real easy with a call to action. You see that's basically 2 simple lines. See, the text isn't very long. It's very short. See that? And you got a nice little call to action button. It's easy to read. It's bright colors. It basically says, click me. Join us online. I mean, they have 2 events that they're showing, some delicious food, and that's it. Simple, simple. You know, nothing too long. People don't want to engage in the long emails anymore. This one here, New England Journal of Medicine. I've worked on several of these for them, and we try to make it fun and interesting because these are marketers of doctors, and they wanted to point out the fact that they're number 1 in average issue readers. Again, keeping it simple. This was laid out in a basic Word document, and all of this in the chart was text that we created as graphics to make it interesting, like doctors are presenting this information. It's really simple. 1, 2, 3. Simple, simple, simple. So remember that when you're designing your emails and your newsletters, make it fun, clean, professional, simple, and engaging. Make sure people want to read this, so they will read this and they'll share it with others. And make sure that you're using a list that will, a very targeted, specific list, so the right people are getting it. And you're guaranteed at that point to have good readership. And remember, what we want them to do is to click on the article, to click on the website, to learn more. That's the objective of this. So if you create something that's not that attractive and very confusing, they're not going to click on it. So just keep all that in mind, and hopefully you'll have much more success with creating your emails.